Chances are when you think of sales, you think about the loudmouth Jordan Belfort type character from Wolf of Wall Street. Someone who's loud, boisterous, and doesn't take no for an answer. That may have worked in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, but today it's very different. Sales has changed. Most people don't like salespeople because they associate them with being aggressive, manipulative, and stereotypical used car salesman, timeshare, and really pushy. While that may be true, it doesn't work in today's world. I'm sure within your business, sales is something that you're avoiding. I don't mean you're afraid of reaching out, but rather you're afraid to take calls or even pick up the phone, because when you think of sales, you think you're being a snake. However, what we need to do is reframe sales and your thoughts about it. The better way to sell is by giving value, leading by curiosity, and being permission-based. It's a consultative approach. You want to understand their current state and their desired future state. Once we know that, we need to know what's stopping them from achieving it, what's actually getting in the way, and we need to identify the obstacle. People know they need to spend money to solve the obstacle. Your pipe leaks in your house. You know you need to call a plumber. There's a leak on the roof. You know you must call a roofer. How much someone spends is determined by the size of the problem that they face. An example of this is, let's say you're in a nuclear power plant and something goes wrong. You call the nuclear technician to fix the problem. However, all he needed to do was flick a switch. He quoted $10,000 for this. Is he within his right? Yes, because the problem wasn't something that's small. Consequences of it being left unsolved were big. Small problems, small budget. Big problems, big budget. When you're starting out, there is a huge pressure to close a deal. You'll sign on anybody, and that's a mistake. People can hear it in your tone of voice, and they can also see it in your facial expressions on a Zoom call. Not all prospects will be a good fit as a client. Your job is to understand what their problems and needs are and to see if you have a solution for it. We want to have a conversation and really see if they have a problem you can solve. If you can't, tell them that. Hey, look, maybe we aren't going to be a good fit. I don't think you have a problem that I can solve. Stop talking about what you do, how you do it, and focus on the client. Solve their problems. This was a big mistake I made in the beginning. I'd try to sell them on all the services I can do for them, set up funnels, email sequences, chatbots, ads, and the truth is they don't really care. When it's time to quote unquote pitch your offer, you really want to give them a few sentences. Selling is all about asking the right questions, open-ended questions that allow the prospect to speak. We want to listen and we want to empathize with them. This is how we build a meaningful connection. Something I've heard from Chris Do was sales stands for serve, ask, listen, empathize, and summarize. We want to find something that the client cares about and is unhappy with, and we want to flow that into a conversation. If we can't understand why this certain problem is important to them to fix, then we can't help them. On my sales calls, for example, I love to ask on a scale of 1 to 10. So John, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to solve X problem? Then they're going to give you a score, and you can ask, well, why? Why isn't the score lower, like a 4 or 5? This will lead them to further explain why it's important to them and thus sell themselves. We're asking the prospect to tell us what's important to them and make them prove to us why it's important by asking, why isn't it a lower score? Do you see how powerful this is? All we're doing is asking questions and allowing them to sell themselves. People buy on emotion and justify on logic. Something I like to say to prospects is this. Whenever I speak to business owners like you, they usually tell me their 3 biggest problems are X, Y, and Z. Which one of those are you struggling with? And they're going to tell you, oh, I'm struggling with this. And then you can ask, well, why? You can only do this when you have done your market research. And this is why I say it's so important, because you don't want to guess this. Typically in any industry, there's 3 of the same recurring problems prospects face. So you must understand what they are. The reason you do this is it builds instant credibility and sets you apart from everyone else. Now, to understand what people are struggling with, you must be a good listener. You must feel what they feel. And a mistake I see a lot is someone will ask a question, they're going to get the answer, and then they just move on to another question. What instead you want to do is when they give you an answer, you want to ask a new question based on their previous answer, so it's more conversational and you're not just following a script, if that makes sense. If you don't do this, the prospect will immediately think you're reading a script and they're going to feel bored and not move forward. You're going to lose trust straight away. So here's what it looks like. We want to understand their current state. Okay, cool. I understand that. Now we want to understand where they want to go and what transformation do they want. And also what's stopping them from getting here. We need to understand how they measure success, what's actually valuable to them. Now here's the key. When we hear all of these things, we want to play back and summarize it to them. This shows that you're listening, and it's important you use the same language as them. So you said you're feeling X, Y, and Z, and it's causing X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? Yes, okay. And you've said X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? Is there anything else that I missed? This is the chance for them to add anything, and if they say no, then you can ask a hypothetical question such as this. So what I heard is X, Y, and Z. Now, if you saw a solution that showed you X, Y, and Z and achieved X, Y, and Z in this time frame, you'd be willing to move forward? It's important that you get an emphatic yes, not a yeah, maybe. Yes, of course. You want them to say yes with conviction and certainty. And if you don't, you've missed something. Kevin Daly said, asking great questions will allow you an unfair, legal, competitive advantage. And that is how you sell without being salesy in 2024. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.